Welcome back to the LCK Analyst Test, and that was Gen.G taking on T1, but the Captain Volleyball skin was not enough to stop T1's heist. It was interesting that no one took Varus during the pick and bans. I'm pretty sure that both teams have gone through a lot of experiments during the scrims, and I guess Ezreal is on top of the tier list here in LCK. T1, last time they had a really good game on Ezreal into Varus, and both teams are so aware of the fact that the bottom lane matchup is a little bit changed with compared to the 10.11 patch. If you go with Ashe or Varus, it is really hard for the AD carry to survive. So they all focus on the teamfight champion on the bottom lane. In the later phase of the game, T1 was really decisive, actually rotating to Baron and Pawn, thinks that that was the best decision possible because that was the only choice they've got. Look at this vision over here. So well, around this Dragon Soul fight, Gen.G, the blue side had the control of the vision already. And look at T1 how they move. They are not committing for any vision fight for the Dragon. So Gen.G, they were also aware that T1 is trying the Baron as for the trade with the Dragon Soul. Pawn thinks that Ezreal actually should have gone for the trade in the Baron fight. Gen.G, they did put the limited amount of champions to get the Dragon Soul, but T1 in this fight, they outplayed Gen.G. Olaf won the Smite fight, and we had a very disappointing performance coming out from Kellen. He died to a Felis turret in this fight, and after that, actually, he had a very disjointed team fight with Plead later on for the Elder fight. With that, cause having a lead in the Smite fight, we had the final game deciding Elder fight. We had a very fantastic team fight on the side of T1 because that was a fantastic disjointment from the side of Gen.G. Silas had a wonderful performance opening this team fight with the hijacked ultimate from Cannon. But Lyra actually think that it was T1 that was picking up the mistakes and blunder from Gen.G because they were going in on the side of T1. Gen.G kind of opened the space for T1 to have the dream teamfight possible. Volibear, Bard, Echo, their synergy was really off in that fight, and that was so critical that that actually made game over on the side of Gen.G. Then let's check out the player of the game on the side of T1. Kanna and Silas. He started as 0-1-0 but ended up with 1-1-4. Huge turnaround fight with that engagement. And we could hear Faker saying that Akana, there was a great opening for a team fight at the mic check in the end of the game. So definitely, I believe he will be the T1's MVP as well. So Kana hijacked the ultimate from Cannon and then even stole away the entire game away from Gen.G. So Kana picked up 7 votes out of 12, once again showing his Godna mode in this game. Then let's move on to the game number 2, Gen.G versus T1, whether Gen.G can stop their mind block or whether T1 can close out the series.
Thank you very much, G-Sun, and that is absolutely the question. The mind block of Gen.G versus T1, it wasn't in effect until the very end of the game, where that gentleman that just received his player of the game, this guy on screen, Kanna, finds the team fight victory with an amazing ultimate that turned things around. But like they were mentioning on the desk, and I'm really glad they brought it up, Lyra stating that it was largely on the back of Gen.G deciding to hand the game over to T1. Rather than T1 necessarily outperforming them. So certainly some sloppy macro decisions, some very slow play, not a lot of kills until, I think the last teamfight had more kills than the rest of the game combined, which was a large amount of time. But let's see whether we do get a more bloody game this time. As here we are into pick and ban. T1 versus Gen.G. T1 now on the blue side, their better side. But they won on red, remember? Like, that's still crazy. They don't have a lot of... They've got 2 wins on red side out of 7 games coming into this. This is their 3rd win on red side out of 8.
Yeah, that was... I mean, that was definitely startling. Nonetheless, Gen.G banning away Varus. Volibear does end up biting the dust. And we are going to see what ends up happening in this game, because really, that was T1 getting some edges early, then slowly falling behind, leading out.
And giving over Ocean Soul, right? And
gave over Ocean Soul, and then Miracle team-fighted to win the game. So you can't feel very good about that as a fan, even if you do take that. You do take those Ws.
And I mean, I think as a fan, you're still happy that they won, but there's certainly a little bit left to be desired. So Kalista going to be banned on the blue side. I find this really interesting, actually, because T1 banning the Ashe, I think, was more of a, like, to open up a possible Kalista first pick, because Ashe does so well into her. But instead, they're going to ban it away themselves. Looks like T1 have instead decided that it's looking like an Ezreal style of game. As Gen.G, it'll be up to them to ban it if they would like to. Trundle's still available. Still certainly a lot of options left on the board. Set is one that was banned last game, but the Ezreal will be banned away here. As
something's been locked in.
Something happened. Not entirely sure what it was.
Oh. Huh?
No, we've got an extra for when the bans go down. We've locked the bans again. Oh wait, no. Wait. That's Twisted Fate.
Twisted Fate B1.
Okay. And this is Faker's Twisted Fate. Very famous pick for him throughout the years. There was a time where if Twisted Fate wasn't banned, you pick him first every single time, and then you win the game. Reminds me of Kassadin back in the day. That's a long way back in the day.
That is,
I think that's almost before your time.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay, well, Aphelios is going to be picked up here by Gen.G, and we'll see where Klid's going to go. The standard LCK pickup is Trundle. So, let's see it.
Well, let's take a look at what ends up happening. So, Azir is locked in.
This is the donkey approach. If something beats you, you then just play it, because it's the best right now.
Okay.
That's how that works. Cuz, considering the misfortune, certainly one of our misfortune players that still remains here in the LCK. And does have decent follow-up to the Twisted Fate as well, as there's the set that we were mentioning. Cuz could be playing that one, has played it in the past, actually pretty good effect. But could also be in the hands of Effort.
And, I mean, it could end up in Conisand as well.
Absolutely.
Top set is still a thing that does come out sometimes.
Could also be in Faker's hands, I guess, if you're going to put Twisted
You
Fate
know what?
somewhere else.
I've had enough. Honestly, it could be in Teddy Sands, and Effort's going to be support MF.
There we go.
Yeah.
Support MF was a thing, I believe, at some point in the past. I think Gorilla played it a while ago.
Well, Tom getting locked in is a little bit worrisome, but does have value against TF.
Yeah, I mean, it's the classic into TF pick. You gold card someone, you devour them, and you can't hit the Twisted Fate can't combo them.
And then he gets gold card back in 2.
Yeah, and then, but Tom Kench gets Devour back in 3.5 years. Something like that. That cooldown's pretty high these days. The proposed rework's actually pretty cool on Tom Kench. We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves with that one, though. As the Olaf going to be banned away from Cuz, and Trundle is going to be banned in response. So Gen.G not going to be fooled by any sort of set jungle assumption. And as we know, can be flexed basically 4 roles, or 5.
Yeah.
Actually is a 5-way flex, isn't it? Because technically if you play Senna alongside.
Senna, yeah, then he can actually be 80. Yeah, that's true. One of the few champions that is able to do that. Trundle getting banned away. Lots of focus on the jungle pool right now. I'm
Lee Sin's pretty comfortable if they want to continue down that path. Silas going to be taken off the board. So
And
with a different idea.
Yeah. This is definitely interesting. We'll see what Gen.G want to lock in here. It should be jungle.
What should be Lee Sin?
I will... I actually despise it.
You're welcome. You're welcome, brother.
Oh my.
Yeah, you didn't peek at the script, did you? No.
I value my eyesight, you know?
Yeah, well,
how it is
Lee
sometimes.
Sin doesn't. No. That's not part of what he's about. As Canna, thinking about going back to an old favorite, a very stable Ornn player towards the top side. But, ooh, I actually really like Rumble with Tia. Gives you a lot of equalizer damage after
like
Destiny
Blitz.
Gate. But there's the Blitzcrank, like you were talking about. Effort. Going to be taking that one. Had a few Blitzcrank games so far. You told me some fun stats about the Blitzcrank Ultimate if you get enough Cloud Drake.
5.77.
It's not very many seconds of
That's
cooldown.
a very short cooldown at absolute max CDR that is possible.
Nutty.
Ornn is now being covered. And the Blitzcrank is really cool because it adds the minigame. It lets you get onto the opponent's team composition when the way that everything was looking, T1 would not have a way on. And so this is a very, very good setup for it. And that is going to mean that Set is in the...
Way. Ooh. Oh, it's not a feels good. Mordekaiser is 100% a trap.
This was a game versus Sullivan. I would have just thrown on the Mickey voice, and I would not, you know.
I still haven't heard it.
I'm waiting. One of these days, it's coming.
I'm so ready.
Expect it.
Well, T1's composition, certainly something that we like.
Much better.
And, oh god, has it happened? Have we got a T1 draft win?
Well, Atlas,
I guess we can go home. Who's getting the pog? Coach Kim.
Effort.
All right.
Yeah.
I actually think this is going to be a game where a lot of the hooks are going to land because Destiny Gate plus Gold Card means that everyone travels a really long way, especially if Cuz is there. Showstopper comes in again. Afterwards, you might just happen to be in the enemy fountain from mid lane.
So, I feel like it's very hard for Gen.G to actually play mid and late game against Blitzcrank because there's so many pull targets that are actually very high value. It invalidates the Tahm Kench. Tahm was picked in isolation for the Twisted Fate, but that's not how draft works. So, came out really early. It left them susceptible to what has ended up happening now with Blitz and Ornn are just super good in a spot like this. And so, Azir and Aphelios, I mean, they can stand tall, but for what? There's no clear line of engage, and you're asleep if you think Lee Sin is going to create those paths for you.
Unless we see Clid play the same kind of Lee Sin that we saw in a recent series, where he was able to create the right amount of chaos in the early game, make it look like the LPL Lee Sin that Clid was known for in the past. But I hazard a guess that this is looking very scary for Gen.G.
Yeah. I think this is a good enough draft for T1 to where I would say that they're favored here. And Gen.G just really punting it away here. So this is not a very good situation to be in game number 2. If
Absolutely.
you are a Gen.G fan from my perspective. Doesn't mean that they can't just take over laning phases and then throw everything completely away.
Yep. And Gen.G certainly going to be very hungry for this one. Remember, this does put a lot of distance between them and T1. T1 desperately need to win this game. If they want to move ahead of Gen.G in the standings, they move to 3rd from 6th place if they win this game right now. A 2-0 over Gen.G gives them exactly the same scoreline, exactly the same game score, and they are ahead as far as head-to-head because they just beat them right here. And means that they remain extraordinarily close in the standings, which is really fun, storyline-wise.
This is a big match for them. There's the runes that are coming out everywhere. Lots of scaling, no sinners.
Yep.
Anywhere, well, except for the Lee Sin. We don't talk about that. You want to know how Lee Sin actually lost his eyesight?
How's that?
He read Morello.
Ah.
Yeah. He's going to want to stay away from that.
I was thinking about getting the audiobook. If I listen to it, will it also be a problem?
Your eyes might bleed.
I was going to say, because I think that Lee Sin probably read the audiobook as well. Afterwards, because he only got halfway through and then it killed his eyesight. And he's like, yeah, but I was really getting into it. And speaking of getting into it, he's looking to try and attack Cuz here at his blue buff, and Clid has a big health advantage. Okay, Cuz going to walk on back forward. He's got a lot of grit at level 2 here. As, okay, Clid takes a fair bit of damage. Faker looking for a fat flash over the wall. He gets it. Clid's going to try and flash out of the way as Cuz in right behind him. And Clid has decided that we're going to go aggressive this game, for better or for worse.
And so that is first blood picked up by I have no idea what Clid was doing. I really wish I could tell you.
Something in that audiobook, my friend.
It's like that. What was the movie where you can't see? Bird Box.
Yeah, Bird Box.
yeah. Lee Sin got Bird Box the red buff. Oh no.
Well, that's a yikes. They do get the flash out of Faker, so that might be something that Clid can revisit, but he doesn't have his flash either. And a jungler dying at this stage of the game, you know, you look at a top lane, right? You die level 2, you teleport immediately back, you don't miss any minions. But not being able to be out on the map and having to then repath into your jungle to try and get more just
no
eats so much time. And Cuz goes and just grabs Swifties.
Yep. So he's going to be running around. And this is very awkward for all the laners who don't have any boots. Okay. He has Hex Flash, but... Oh, Clid has Smite available, but doesn't look like he's actually going to go for anything.
All right, Kellen, looking for a Tongue Lash. We'll find it onto Effort here. As I was waiting for Effort to flash hook and get him under the turret, but not wanting to trade flashes at this stage in time. Blitzcrank can be quite dangerous without a flash as far as giving away kills. That's all right, in goes Cuz with the Hex Flash, and it's a drive-by.
Yep. They don't have the damage because Set, well, he has Swiftness boots. It's not like he has any damage amp. So even though they get the gold card, the sequence of events that would end up happening is Face Breaker, double stun, Twisted Fate still on cooldown. Set does a couple of autos, loses 70% of his life. So,
and then gets a big shield, and then walks away with 25%.
Yeah.
Life. Yeah.
Twisted Fate now going with the Merc Treads as the first item. Very good against the enemy team comp, as well as those resistances early in the lane. Lots of good synergy here because you get to just convert mobility into damage. And
we're going to bring around the Rosie as Q's going to land there onto Cuz from Clid. Canna fighting off against Rascal here. Only level 5 for both of these top laners. Good knock up there, but the W keeps Rascal alive, and Faker says, thank you very much. I'll help pick up that assist, and Canna walks away with the second kill for T1.
Yeah. And this, oh, beautiful. So he doesn't even immediately shove. He's just going to recall. And if he would end up shoving and Rascal TPs onto the minion wave, then he gets trapped inside of the lane. So instantly recalls, teleports to the turret, playing it. Bomby Cinder, man.
It's Summer, dude.
Now he can't freeze the wave. If he didn't build bombies, he could have just went into that and said, hey, Mordekaiser, you actually have to stay here to escort the wave. And in doing so, if Kana takes down the whole wave, he's almost level 6. And then if he trades with Mordekaiser, gets low, he gets him into the Horn combo threshold.
리신 싸움 났다.
I mean, I just
천천히 볼게 이거.
cannot fathom what that Lee Sin Q was on Set.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Because he's there with
넘어봐.
one mission in mind.
나이스. 빼자.
Yeah, just looked a little bit too easy here as we're going to go for one more. But finding yet another Q, but he's a level behind and he decides to go aggressive. Don't know in what world where that's ever going to work out. This was decently played by Rascal to utilize his W, but you're not going to go 1 versus 3, and Clid wasn't offering enough. So far behind on the Lee Sin.
And Ornn is so far ahead of Mordekaiser. Twisted Fate is very far ahead of the Azir. Because remember, it's not just the 2 assists. that Faker has, it's also TF's passive.
Yep.
So that is really helping him here. Effort is looking like he's trying to line up a hook onto Ruler. He's going to want to make sure that he measures that correctly.
Yeah, and in the meantime, this Ocean Drake is going to be picked up by T1. Have a look at what our second Drake is and give you a few options as far as our Dragon Souls are concerned. Ocean goes down. Next one's a Cloud. So we've got either Mountain Soul or Infernal Soul. Some relatively interesting ones. T1 off to a good start so far.
Yeah. If you are a T1 fan, Infernal probably is your favorite third dragon.
Although you get a lot of value out of Mountain with Set and the Orn.
Yeah, you do. You do. Even the Twisted Fate, who doesn't necessarily build a lot of resistances, but builds a little bit. So.
And a lot of health.
Oh, and you know, I mean, I guess Blitzcrank. All right, we're gonna do this rodeo again. Oh,
Mini goes. And out again.
Ooh, Cuz misses.
Yeah. That's a bit of a mind game between these two, of course. You got to get that Facebreaker as he tries to escape with the safeguard.
Yep.
Put it on cooldown, then bring him back.
Then he would end up getting the flash out of Lee Sin. That would be the play. I mean, alternatively, yeah, just get the flash out of Lee Sin. Faker could then potentially follow up. But nonetheless, just going to end up getting the blue buff. Orn moving down. Going to go into Catalyst next, and everything is just going very slow. Now, I do want to hand it to Ruler and Kellen, because they have been really winning in the CS department tonight.
They have, and
even though
against Teddy, the CS monster.
Yep. Cookie monster.
Yep.
Don't talk about vanilla ice cream, though.
No, I don't. I'm not allowed to anymore.
Yeah, that game.
That was a little bit. It was too violent. It's yep. I don't know. There was a recommendation on Twitter that I should talk about cereal instead. A much safer topic. Much safer. As Cuz is going to come in. And Kellen just going to flash his way out, and Ruler absolutely no place to go. Showstopper comes in. Teddy probably going to be delivered this kill. There's the bullet time, and somehow Ruler's going to survive. There's the Moonlight Vigil, but they dive it, and Faker's going to have his stopwatch. I don't know whether it was entirely necessary after the tribute, but better to be safe than sorry. T1 continue their onslaught.
Yeah.
Already more kills than the first 38 minutes of Game 1.
Well, Ripcal's going to be summoning mid. It's going to manage to get all of the turret plates, actually. Orn is not going to be able to move down whatsoever, so Gen.G are fighting back a little bit, and that's very big to actually get this.
Yeah,
onto
mid-outer is
Fate.
huge.
Yeah. Mordekaiser even here. Oh,
that's the three-man Facebreaker as Faker's in there. Rascal grabs him into the Death Realm, but has to use the W to keep himself alive there. Death Realm, not exactly the optimal choice, as Effort looking for a hook. Ooh, I like the try.
Yeah, and now Kana is going to bite back with his own. 2 turret plates up in top lane.
Wow, and as this dust is settling, actually, it's looking more like a 2,000 gold lead once again. I would have thought that having taken those 4 turret plates mid, that was going to help Gen.G move the way back, but not taking the turret really hurts them.
Yeah, that's the last turret plate and first turret of the game.
However, it is on its last leg, so it is money that's sort of waiting to be taken, and they still do have 3.5 minutes. As we have a look at this one and how it unfolds.
So Cuz just goes in immediately, and he knows that they both have flash. Now, there's a Facebreaker angle right there, but what he doesn't want to happen is Aphilio's trying to just flash out immediately after, and then alley-oop with Tom, and so definitely a lot of indecision with T1 on this play, but they end up getting the same end result that they were looking for. This is a very good flash Facebreaker, getting so much value. Death Realm comes out, Cuz ends up retreating backwards, and then, because if Orn was moving, things do go a little bit differently, but Orn stayed up in top lane. And so now Kana just going to shove in the wave one more time. Might actually be able to ding one more turret plate. I believe his Demolish is off cooldown. Yep. Yeah, so he's going to get another turret plate. So that's 3 turret plates top.
The Mordekaiser isn't even here yet, and there's no cannon in this wave, so he shouldn't actually get this melee minion either. I believe was just in experience range. But that's basically that whole wave just done. Only gets 2 minions out of it. And so the the experience gap is going to start widening between Kana and Rascal. It's BDD. Still, it's BDD's Azir. He's very, very good at this champion. And they are able to give him that solo turret gold. Last plate comes in. And the first turret of the game will be claimed there by BDD. Head by about 20 CS at the moment on this Azir. Something that does happen against Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate really doesn't like a long lane though, so this could work out for BDD. And for Gen.G as well.
Yeah. And at this point, though, you look at the items across the board, and it's a little bit more favorable to T1, even at this Song and a Dance. So, should be the Cloud Dragon going over to free. But in exchange for this, I mean, Rascal is going to get some turret plates up in top lane.
Yep, Cloud Drake isn't the end of the world. Does give Gen.G the option of either a 4-stack Mountain or a 4-stack Infernal, which is very scary, either way you shake it. But it does mean that they do need to reclaim some control of this map. So there's the Mountain Drake that we were talking about earlier. Great for both of these teams, arguably better for T1, but Gen.G just wanting to try and keep themselves alive until they can get to those late game team fights where an Emperor's Divide in a few years is going to help them take a victory. Teddy's looking for even more of these turret plates. Can he use the bullet time to guarantee that this wave crashes?
He's just going to back up and look for a reset here on the MF, cuz now going to end up doing both the camps at the same time. Stack up a little bit more grit as well. Gives Faker the blue buff.
I like that, like the efficiency.
Yeah. And it's only a 1,000 gold lead right now for T1, but their mid game is going to be very explosive. And then remember, the ornaments, once they start coming in, it's going to be Molten Edge on Misfortune. Twisted Fate, given the itemization path that Faker's already gone, he might not actually get an ornament until way later. Death Crown would be ideal, but
Zonya's
given that it's Mountain Soul,
probably will happen.
Zonya's Paradox getting extra armor,
true, yeah.
amplifying it even a little bit more.
And also has broken his stopwatch already, so there's even more value in getting an earlier Zonya's, so you can do those sort of Messiah plays into the backline and then immediately going golden. Another very old name. I feel like I'm bringing up a lot of ancient history here.
You are actually ancient, yeah.
Yeah, I am. I am a fossil of the League of Legends community.
What was it like before electricity?
Oh, it was boring. It's really boring. The League of Legends was much different. Had to use cardboard, little cutouts, and mechanics were more about how long your arms were.
Okay.
You had to reach down the table if you were going to take the enemy Nexus. Thankfully, I was born with abnormally large arms, so in my early years, I was very good at League of Legends. Now I've grown into my arms, and unfortunately, my talent is no longer there if I play in my age bracket.
All right.
About 672 or something like that, based on this conversation. Both Faker and Cuz here in this game with 100% kill contribution thus far. 2.5 minutes until the Mountain Drake. As again, things are slowing down. Do we have like? We were talking about cereal before, and then there was a gank, and that was pretty cool.
Ooh,
so maybe
cereal.
we.
Yeah. What's your favorite cereal?
I'm really boring when it comes to cereal. I love Wheaties.
What is that?
Wheaties. It's just a wheat-based cereal, and I like them with honey and milk. You know?
You need to get your taste buds checked, I think.
It goes back to our previous conversation about me
Seem to be about as apt
super old
as kills are in the LCK.
Yeah, a little bit like that. That's why I love it here so much.
I am a Captain Crunch peanut butter.
Oh wow, I've never had that one before. I think that's something that we missed out on.
Honeycomb.
Not being in America. I feel like America is really good at extraordinarily sweet cereals.
Yep.
And we don't get many of those. I mean, we get the Fruit Loops. They're Fruit Loops in Australia. I don't know what they are in America. I think it is a little bit different. But thankfully, we might have a bit of action here as Shirley is going to be put down top lane. Kana throws in the ultimate as Gen.G looking to try and get something back. That was fantastic denial, though. As Kana gets kicked into the wall to make sure that the ram is not going to cause any trouble. And T1 will deny Shirley from taking down the turret.
Well, Cuz is just going to end up killing the Gromp now. 1 minute until the Mountain Drake is going to come up. MF does use her ultimate to just wave clear the top turret. Ornn, is he going to be able to get to the ornaments? Because if he can, it's going to be so big for this team fight. Now, there's a wave at the turret, another wave coming in, and there's the golems. I would imagine Kana must be really close.
Oh, yeah.
And he'll also be able to get... Oh, no, never mind. Well, he's pretty close, but I don't believe that he'll have... He will have the Sunfire Cape, but very doubtful he will ding 13 by the time that fight happens.
See whether he's able to get his teleport off cooldown as well, because it might actually be able to allow him to find that gold, find level 13, potentially, if he can stay in a lane. Right now he's doing the Krugs, seeing whether he can get enough off that one. As we can't quite see the experience bar. Oh yeah, we can. So not going to make it anywhere near from that Krug camp. And so we're going to have to do without the ornaments for the moment, but like you say, there might be a Forge Fire Cape option very soon. Cleared. Just going to taxi his way out on this Mountain Drake by the looks of things. T1 with full vision of the area. Of course, vision, not a thing they need to worry about because Destiny and Gate are available. And so Gen.G has to be very careful with how they set up for this one. Ruler is very close range. He's got Draven more at the moment.
And, Kana got 13.
Yeah, and he's looking for an ult from behind. There we go, he's going to land this ram. Is it stolen, in fact, from Clit? He safeguards, tries to get himself out, and does get healed as well. The bullet time is just extraordinary, though, and Faker finds Clit in the back line. BDD trying to save him, throws out some Sand Soldiers that don't really do enough as the wildcards are avoided. Rascal looking for effort, but the Death Realm runs out, and now it's a 2 versus 1 that he doesn't want to deal with. MF gets yet another kill, 3,000 damage in the team fight as Faker still hunting for the Gen.G mid laner and jungle. BDD steals one away, but that's the only kill that they've got in this team fight. Faker finishes off Clit, and Teddy will grab the bird. And T1, this might just be enough to win them the game. That
is a massive victory for them right now. They end up getting an ace.
Yeah.
Basically over the opponent, so it ends up being a 5-for-1. They did lose the mountain, which is it's, a decent amount of gold.
Yep, slows down the soul too, yep.
But let's take a look at this one more time. So, Clit with the very clutch Dragon Kick into the Smite Steal. Kana goes for Affilio, steals the damage, but Kellen manages to get the Devour, and then an insane Face Breaker with the bullet time. Pay attention to Effort in this fight, because Rascal, he thinks he's getting away, but then Effort channels his Scorpion and tells him to get over here.
Yeah.
As it looks like his teammates just didn't think Effort could get it.
And it was about who was the better Scorpion there as well, because of course Death Grasp has a very get over here vibe to it.
Faker, wild cards, ends up hitting the 7-10 split.
Oh, and the minions.
As the minions had enough.
Yeah. They were done. They were happy to step in. As we were talking about Zhonya's Paradox, Faker has the Hourglass already completed. Cannot Forge Fire Cape, as well as his super sweet Abyssal Gas Mask. And,
well,
Gen.G, look, we could still have a game like Game 1, right? It could still happen. But T1, it feels like they are way further ahead than Gen.G were, and look at all this standing gold that's on the map. They've only taken 2 turrets. They're in fact even when it comes to the turrets at the moment. This outer turret will be going down very shortly.
The thing is that for the next mountain fight, it's not only a 4,000 gold lead, it's the ornaments are going to come in for teammates as well.
Oh, true.
And so all of that is going to get stacked on top. Very sad that Set doesn't build an ornament. This is actually one of the interesting games where... Okay.
Gen.G looking for this one as Faker diving in onto Ruler towards the top side. He should be able to take down this outer turret if he wants to keep chasing. There's the Ornhorn. Kana going to lock down the Lee Sin. He's going to fall very quickly as Rascal now does have his Death Realm, but he's not going to be able to face off against Teddy, who just obliterates the Mordekaiser before he can do anything. And Gen.G, I mean, you do have to try and go for some of these Hail Mary plays, but it just wasn't enough to really get anything done. And Ruler, he's at a 3rd health. I don't know whether he's going to be able to stop T1 from just taking this Baron.
Well, It looks like T1, they're going to start this up. Clid is up in 4, even with home guard. I do not think he's going to be able to get there in time. Ornn is tanking. You can see effort. I mean, the thing is that effort can fish for a hook, and anyone's dead if they get pulled.
Well,
see you later.
Kellen, he's just going to be exploded. As in goes BDD, he gets the sweep, but he's not going to be able to get the Baron, and he gets out as well, actually, somehow.
Yeah. That was a nice attempt.
After ruling. Yeah, it was.
That was a genuinely nice thought to try to Shurima shuffle and then take it down with the Sand Soldiers. And so let's take a look at how this all transpired. No clue what Kellen was thinking on this play. Ruler forced to flash away from Faker. Turret was living, but then a really nice Ornn, and then again, effort. Straight out of Mortal Kombat, man. With his Blitzcrank pulls. And that's what we talked about in the draft phase, is that Blitzcrank is amazing. He can completely deconstruct any phalanx attempt by Gen.G. Every champion they have is prone to it. So, just a really, really good pick. And he's utilizing it so well, combined with Cuz to set so many things up for his teammates. Magi Soul Stealer on Faker.
Oh no, they're bullying Clid now. They're like, you left us. We are going to punish you for it. Teddy in the mid lane. He's going to take down this inner turret. And the game number 1, that was a nail biter. That was close. T1 stole it away, but I think they stole some mental fortitude while they were there. His effort is going to get pulled back. Misses the hook onto Kellen. Definitely a good hook target. Make it rain comes down. Rascal in a bit of trouble. As Death's Grasp not going to do anything, and T1 should be able to take this inhibitor in the mid lane. Base broken, gold lead just exploding.
Yeah. 8,000 gold advantage right now. BDD this is where things get a little bit scary when you're T1.
Whoa! And the flash hook onto Ruler. Kellen does have the Devour, so not going to be getting too much there, as it is going to be effort falling in the Death Realm. Death's Grasp doesn't really do enough there, as that's a great knock-up coming out of Canna. My goodness, his performance today has been unbelievable. Bullet time just to stop anyone from helping out, as Canna in the front line not going to be moved just yet. This inhibitor turret's going to go down as a bit of an afterthought. Gen.G without their jungler or top lane, it means that T1 can keep pushing. It's a great stun. 2-man facebreaker is glorious out of Cuz, and the knock-up from Canada follow up. This is going to be the end of the game. BDD with a 4-man ulti. It does not matter, because your Nexus is going to fall down. Only 2 kills on the side of Gen.G, and T1 will reach ahead of them in the standings with a gigantic turnaround after that game number 1, which was going all Gen.G's way. They now find themselves from 6th place to 3rd.
And that game was a complete stomp. And you know what? When T1 has a good draft, games
it's
tend
like
to go pretty well
it's
for
like
them.
You mentioned something about that earlier on in the series.
It's very interesting. And Cuz and Effort both trying to chase after each other for player of the game. I ended up giving it over to Cuz for his face breakers.
I agree with you.
Itemization path also helped out a lot that game with converting into meaningful things. Ruler, tough series for him. I mean, it was so hard to play as Aphelios in game number 2.
He was actually really impressive in game number 1 as well. Tried
also
so hard.
Lee Sin.
Lee Sin, Mordekaiser, double trap card.
They are so bad.
They're not really very good at winning games.
Whenever so result-based analysis is one of the most donkey things that anyone can ever do.
Yeah.
But what I would implore everyone to do is go into every Mordekaiser and Lee Sin game and really look at the context of the champions and what value they added into the game. And if the argument is somehow like Mordekaiser gets 3 kills in the first 15 minutes and then has a 3-level lead and converts into... No, that's not Mordekaiser. That's just something really catastrophic happened. And it's not the majority, so...
He's currently a 33% win rate. Good old Mordekaiser out of 12 games. Means he's won 4 and lost a lot more than that, to the tune of 8.
Totally fine.
Definitely not really working out. Lee Sin, I think, has seen a little bit more success, but like you've spoken about so many times in the past, those games, it's not really about having the Lee Sin.
No.
In the composition that's going to do it for you. And absolutely, the set was so much more valuable.
Yep.
And Clid just got punished that entire game. And this is the Clid that we saw at the beginning of the season. You know, the tilted version of the Clid. You know.
I don't know what the level 1 was. I still can't. Or the level 2.
Yeah.
That was. Yeah, I just don't understand. Twisted Fate's able to collapse first. No matter what, Twisted Fate can always collapse first there. So you also have Mordekaiser versus Ornn. It's not like either of them are adding value, but Ornn would actually be able to, more likely than not, add more value.
And also get there first, right? Because he's on that side of the map. We're going to have a look at it again.
Just watch him Q, cuz. So he has to make up his mind on what he's trying to do, but you can see he can never get set into the threshold. Faker just comes.
Yeah. And also, like, flash or no flash, you're always dead there. So I don't know why he's also using that one. It certainly does feel like more of an emotional play rather than a calculated one, as this early game was all T1 the entire time.
Yeah.
And a lot of it came down to Cuz just being real good.
Well, at this point, T1, they walk away here with a 2-0. Very important for them to have done so. And Gen.G, it's a bittersweet loss because the game number 1, this was the really sick base breaker.
Oh.
The fight that turned everything around. Faker, Destiny Gate gets onto Lee Sin, who, I mean, the only thing he's doing this entire game is just running. BDD whiffs the Shurima Shuffle, the Scorpion Hook, onto Rascal, who then ends up dying. I just have no idea why people play this champion, Mordekaiser. It's a bit confusing. Top lane meta must be very bland and boring.
You can get the jungler out of the objective fight.
Oh, okay.
That's why.
Yeah.
I don't know either, man. I'm trying.
That's the funniest part, is when they try to dumb down the game to that simple of like a card game type thing.
My champion is good into this champion.
Into this very specific instance that disregards everything else.
This very isolated portion of what makes the entire game. That's why holistic team comp decisions and draft decisions need to be made in this game, as Teddy does get kicked back, and it was actually really beautifully comboed with Ruler's ulti, but at this point, there was just nothing that Gen.G could do. They were too far behind.
야 이제 좋아.
야 아지를 셋 다 높을.
나봐줘.
셋 다 높으니까 천천히 끝내면 돼 이거.
본다 이거
Set has
살짝
no
본다.
flash. We can just take it slow and win the
맞아.
game.
좋아.
Look at this.
봐봐. 나이스.
Nice.
야 끝내. 얘 잡아.
플래시
플레이.
나이스.
Oh.
사랑해.
I love you guys.
수고했어.
야 잘 떴다 오타니. 드디어 보여줬네 오타니.
Effort so wholesome. And well played by T1. This was a very different game. To game number 1, feels a little bit like Gen.G were slightly more emotional this time around, which you could imagine a game like game 1 could do to you. But I think the T1 fans could feel a lot better seeing them perform like this, as opposed to what we saw in game number 2, which was gamble on a 50-50 and an Elder Drake at about 40 minutes after doing nothing.
They take the coin flip a little bit too literal.
Yeah.
You know? They gotta remember that's for the draft, not for the other things. That's
like, stay good at the gameplay, guys. Let's do that. Yeah. Flip it when it comes to the cards you're picking in that Champions League.
Yeah.
But we did see what happens when they do exactly that, right? This was vintage T1 in game number 2, and now the standings just get even more spicy.
Yeah.
This is very, very fun stuff, as Gen.G will move a distance down the standings. I'm not actually sure where they end. Haven't done that math. I know that T1 will move ahead of them.
Yeah.
What this does for Gen.G's position, though, is something that I haven't fully calculated. So really interesting. I think our top 4 feel pretty solid after this.
Yeah. I think that the top 4 is really rounding out to be about what people would expect.
Yeah.
And round 2 of Summer is going to be the really interesting thing. We're almost in round 4, or week 4.
Yeah.
We're almost there. Week 5 is the tipping point into that, and then things get very weird.
Yeah, then we get into round 2, and we get to see what happens in all of these rematches. And we get to discover whether side selection is, in fact, as valuable as it seems.
Yeah.
at this portion of the season, because things will change. There will be new patches. We'll see, things develop, and maybe Varus is not going to be as highly contested. Maybe there's going to be a red side ban that's freed up a little bit more, and that's going to help those sort of win rates, as Cuz is easily going to pick up the player of the game. And by easily, I mean he got 6 out of 12 votes, but we tie broke it with some of our observers, and Le Swinger strikes back.
Le Swinger did apparently strike back here, as I thought it would be between Cuz and Effer in a lot of the situations, but Faker getting 6 of the votes as well surprises me a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I did like his splash at the beginning. Like, this was a decent escape. His Twist of Fate is always really good, and I find it's interesting. It's difficult to vote when it comes to Faker, because we're just so used to him being really good all the time.
Yeah.
So it makes it easier and harder.
Yeah. And really good face breaker. Really living up to the name of that ability. I always like seeing Tom lose.
Feels good.
Yeah.
Timothy back to his hovel underneath London's
He needs
bridge.
buffs, unironically.
Well, yeah, I think that's what the change coming in is going to sort of help him do. I think it's going
Oh, you mean the
proposed change.
The proposed changes, that's at least makes me feel sad.
I don't know. I don't mind Devour being an ultimate. It reminds me
I always
of
get
Twisted
scared when
Fate.
champions get like pseudo rework now, because I've been left feeling pretty sad about some of the more recent ones.
Because then you can, I certainly grew some attachment to some of the older champions. That is very, very true. But we are going to move to the player of the game interview. So here is G-Sun with your translation.
Thank you very much, guys. Let's hear from Cuz Kana picking up another win up against Gen.G with this finals rematch series. How do you feel, guys? It was hard, especially game number 1. But anyways, we got the win, so I'm happy. Kana with the most enerving experience of the summer split, and let's move on to Cuz. It's been a while since you got this POG. I'm happy to win this POG, and junglers aren't able to get a lot nowadays, so I'm happy that I made it. And in game number 1, we focused up really well in the late game, so I'm happy about that as well. So Kana, you won half of the T1's POG, so do you also acknowledge yourself as the T1's ace? You are keeping your monopoly on the POG of T1. In the spring split, I had a very low POG points, but coming into summer split, I'm getting a lot. So I guess I am doing my role really well. And Cuz, well, there were some roster swaps, but T1 is hitting the 9-match win streak up against Gen.G, even when, just like today, the two teams had a very different momentum. During the prep, because Gen.G, they have a very losing match history up against us, so we wanted to utilize that and concentrate during the game. Regardless of our opponents, we always just prepare the picks and our performance. Speaking of the picks, it was really impressive that Varus was open in game 1 and no one picked it. Were you guys expecting that? Our head coach, the coaches during the practice, well, we followed our plan, and it's always viable at the same time. I guess Cuz is trained to answer like that. Like he just memorized the whole answer about Varus pick. Then let's move on to the top lane talk. It was a duel between the top laners with the full potential. How was today's matchup up against him? Rascal, he's a good player as well, so I was a little bit nervous. And that was my mindset into the game. game number 1, I was struggling a little bit because I lacked a little bit of an understanding about the Volibear champion.
얘기 나온 김에 진짜 명장면이 결국 바론 쪽하고 장로 쪽에서 나온
Speaking
건데
of game number 1,
정글러로서
the highlights was about the Baron call and the Elder fight. Was it really hard for you? The smite fight for the Baron?
많이 무서웠고요.
It was indeed so scary. But the Olaf's
스마이트가 돼가지고
strength is that he can do E-smite combo. Thanks to that, I was able to secure our Baron. Yeah, game 1 was really dicey. How did the players see the whole situation? Because Gen.G was leading the game, to be honest. It was a very unexpected pick, so we weren't ready, to be honest. However, we kept our concentration till the end, so we were able to close out the game. And I think we had to commit for the fight around the Baron. Because you are the starting jungler today. So it was like you were showing the original strengths of T1. So what was your mindset for today's game? I always keep the same mindset for every game. And Elim, he is also a great player. It's just our head coach and the coaching staffs are deciding the starting lineups. So we just follow their decision and we try to do our best in any given situation. Are you getting some orders via your earpiece? Because you sound like a robot. You're like reading a script. Are you reading off of a script? I mean, I haven't been on the stage for interview for a while. I'm just like having stage jitters. I guess Cuz is having a little bit of a stage jitter. So let's move on to Kana. Kana, you've been doing a lot of interviews and you are on the 400 points per POG. And you are on the top of POG standings as well. So did that kind of thing boost your confidence overall? I'm still at a learning process, so I think I have to do even better. And about the POG, I'm pretty sure that I was really lucky. And the Clav commercials always on fire on the community. And Cuz, your line, can you do that on the stage? So that was his line from the commercial. I want to be the RAM in your computer for one day. Are you feeling a lot more confident, comfortable? It's embarrassing, to be honest. I hope Cuz is feeling a lot more comfortable. And your next opponent will be Soren Prince. You guys might be having a very favorite situation to continue this momentum. At the same time, Soren, when they really like to fight a lot, so what's your mindset for that game? As Mickey joined their team, they got more aggressiveness. So I think we have to prepare a lot for the series. In Kana, we are always trying our best. And we are always working really hard to show the best performance possible. So I always appreciate all the love and support from our fans. In Kana, it's actually okay to use dialects during the interviews. Would you like to try some? I'm sorry. What are you sorry for? So we're not forcing you to show up some dialects on the interview. So let's wrap up this interview from Cuz and Kana from T1, and I'm gonna pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
Thank you so much, G-Sun. As per usual, Sunke always trolling the players. Absolutely fantastic. I liked him calling out Cuz, and then Cuz basically looking at the camera as if he's doing this to see what he's supposed to see next. Absolutely brilliant. We're all about scripts up here, so it's totally fine with me. And as you can see, it is right now stating 3-3, but don't let that fool you. Head-to-head plays a part.
Yep.
And so technically, right now,
T1 are ahead
T1
of
are ahead. Yeah.
That's just how that works. at this point in time, Damwon still have to play another game.
Yep.
As does DRX, so we'll see what ends up happening there. T1 has a bit of an easy lineup remaining, as does Gen.G, and that's why this matchup was so important. Tomorrow's matchup on Saturday, Damwon versus Hanwha Live.
Speed running the LCK.
Yeah. And then Dynamics versus Sandbox. This is going to be an interesting one because Sandbox, they ran through all stages of hell so far here in the LCK. We'll see now what they can do against Dynamics, but really, it's looking grim.
It is. So Sandbox, they're coming off the Dante run, and they have Yamato Cannon now on stage with them during the draft, and with them at LoL Park as well. Wasn't able to get out of quarantine until just after their most recent match, which I believe was on Wednesday.
Yep.
So will be the first time that we're going to have Yamato Cannon at LoL Park. It's what we hear. So excited to see what he's going to be able to bring to the team. But ladies and gentlemen, pretty quick night tonight. That is going to do it for us. We'll see you tomorrow for more LCK Summer.
World has changed and I am ready to take it on. You told me to be myself and never feel alone. You're all that I want. All that I need. If I was ever in the dark, I'd see